Who really was TB Joshua, and why did his ministry spark such controversy? Let's delve into the life of this enigmatic figure whose story is as intriguing as it is contentious. Born in 1963 in the heart of Nigeria, Temitope Balogun Joshua, or as he was more commonly known, TB Joshua, was not an ordinary child. His birth was surrounded by peculiar circumstances, including an alleged prophecy that he would become a prominent prophet. He was an enigma from the start, a child marked by destiny. As he grew, so did his spiritual inclinations. His passion for spirituality led him to establish the Synagogue Church of All Nations in the late 20th century, a ministry that would soon become a global phenomenon. This wasn't a conventional church, but a place where thousands flocked seeking miracles, healing, and divine intervention. TB Joshua's charisma was undeniable. His supposed ability to heal the sick and perform miracles drew people from all walks of life across continents. He was seen as a beacon of hope, a man who could channel divine power and bring about change in people's lives. He claimed to heal everything from HIV/AIDS to cancer, using nothing but faith and prayer. His services were a spectacle, filled with dramatic displays of healing and deliverance. This, coupled with his philanthropic endeavors, made him a beloved figure to some, a beacon of hope to those in desperate need. However, his ministry was not without controversy. Critics called into question the validity of his miracles, accusing him of exploiting the vulnerable for personal gain. The more his fame grew, the more he became a figure of controversy, a man equally admired and vilified. TB Joshua's life was a paradox, a blend of faith, miracles, controversy, and mystery. His ministry was a phenomenon that transcended borders, drawing both admiration and criticism. But the story of TB Joshua is not as straightforward as it seems. As we peel back the layers of his life and ministry, we find a complex narrative, one that challenges our understanding of faith, power, and the human capacity for belief. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the life and times of TB Joshua. As TB Joshua's influence grew, so did the stories of miracles and healings. The young prophet, with his charismatic personality and compelling oratorical skills, began to attract a following that spanned continents. His popularity was not just confined to his homeland Nigeria, but spread across Africa and beyond, reaching the far corners of the globe. The tales of his miracles were captivating. Stories of the blind regaining sight, the lame walking again, and even the dead being brought back to life were not uncommon. People flocked to his church, the Synagogue Church of All Nations, in the hopes of witnessing or experiencing one of these miracles. Each testimony, each miracle, it seemed, only added to the allure and mystique of the man they called the prophet. Yet as the number of miracles attributed to TB Joshua proliferated, so too did the controversy surrounding these claims. Critics began to question the authenticity of these miracles, accusing the prophet of stage-managing elaborate hoaxes to deceive his followers. Despite these allegations, the faithful remained undeterred. Their belief in the prophet, in the miracles he performed, was unwavering. They saw in him hope, a beacon of light in a world filled with darkness and despair. But it wasn't just miracles that made TB Joshua a figure of fascination. His teachings, rooted in the Christian faith, yet imbued with his unique interpretation, resonated with many. His sermons, often broadcasted live on Emmanuel TV, his own television network, reached millions of viewers worldwide. He preached about love, forgiveness, and the power of faith, messages that struck a chord with individuals searching for spiritual guidance and solace. The prophet's rise was meteoric, his influence far-reaching. His followers saw him as a divine messenger, a conduit between the earthly realm and the divine. Yet with such power and influence also came scrutiny, skepticism, and a multitude of questions. The world was watching, captivated by his charisma, intrigued by his miracles, and divided over his authenticity. But behind these miracles, a darker narrative was beginning to emerge. With fame and influence came power, power that was allegedly misused. As TB Joshua's influence burgeoned, so too did the allegations of abuse and manipulation within his synagogue, Church of All Nations, or SCOAN. The man who had once been a beacon of hope was now being accused of casting a shadow of fear and control. The allegations painted a grim picture. Stories emerged of followers being coerced into donating large sums of money, of being manipulated into staying within the church's confines, and of being subjected to alleged physical and psychological abuse. Some described the atmosphere within SCOAN as stifling and oppressive. They reported being constantly monitored and controlled, their lives dictated by the whims of the prophet. Yet, amid these damning allegations, TB Joshua's followers remained steadfast in their devotion. To them, he was not a manipulator but a miracle worker. They saw him as the embodiment of divinity, a conduit of God's power on earth. Their faith was unwavering, their loyalty unyielding. To the outside world, this devotion appeared cult-like, a dangerous surrender of personal autonomy and critical thought. But to the followers, it was a testament of their faith. They believed in TB Joshua's divine calling, in his ability to heal and prophesy. To them, the allegations were nothing more than a smear campaign, an attempt to tarnish the reputation of a man they revered as a prophet. The question that lingered was, how could a man who preached love and compassion be accused of such grave misconduct? How could a man who healed the sick and prophesied the future be at the center of such controversy? The dichotomy was striking, and it shook the foundations of faith for many. The man of God was now under scrutiny. The allegations against him had cast a pall over his ministry, and the world watched with bated breath as the story continued to unfold. The cult of TB Joshua was now in the public eye, and the truth, whatever it may be, was beginning to surface. The narrative of TB Joshua was far from over. It was merely entering a new, darker chapter. The walls of the synagogue started to crumble, both literally and figuratively. In the year 2014, a tragic incident struck the synagogue, Church of All Nations, the very foundation of TB Joshua's empire. A 6-story guest house within the church premises collapsed, resulting in an unthinkable loss of life. The death toll was staggering, surpassing 100 with many more injured. The incident was not just a physical catastrophe, but it also marked the beginning of the fall of the prophet. The public, once enamored with his charisma and miracles, started questioning the integrity of his ministry. The bereaved families demanded answers, and the authorities, who had once turned a blind eye to his activities, were now forced to intervene. The legal fallout was swift and relentless. TB Joshua found himself and his church in the crosshairs of a criminal negligence lawsuit. The state coroner's report was damning, citing structural failures as the cause of the building's collapse and placing the blame squarely on the church for failing to obtain the necessary building permits. The prophet's attempts to shift the blame to a mysterious low-flying aircraft or a potential terror attack were met with skepticism. The public, once unquestioning, was now scrutinizing every word, every action. TB Joshua, who had once stood at the pinnacle of religious authority, was now being dragged through the mud in the court of public opinion. The media, both local and international, were relentless. Headlines screamed of the prophet's fall from grace. Stories of alleged abuses within the church began to surface, further tarnishing the image of the once revered prophet. The walls of his fortress, once thought impregnable, were starting to crumble. His followers started to dwindle, his influence wane. The man who had once commanded the adulation of millions was now a figure of controversy and doubt. TB Joshua was now a man under siege. In death, as in life, TB Joshua remains a figure of controversy. His sudden departure from this world in June 2024 left many in shock and disbelief. A charismatic preacher, a philanthropist, a religious leader with a global following, and the founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, or SCOAN, TB Joshua's influence was truly vast and far-reaching. In the immediate aftermath of his death, the church experienced a period of uncertainty. Questions loomed large over the future of SCOAN, an institution that had hitherto been synonymous with the man at its helm. Yet, despite the void left by TB Joshua, the church has persevered, continuing to uphold the teachings and practices he had instilled. However, it's not just the future of the church that has been a topic of discussion. The debate about TB Joshua's legacy rages on, as polarized as the man himself. To his followers, he was a divine figure, a man with the extraordinary ability to heal the sick and perform miracles. They remember him as a generous benefactor who used his wealth to uplift the less fortunate. On the other end of the spectrum, there are those who view TB Joshua as a false prophet. They point to allegations of manipulation, abuse, and the exploitation of faith for personal gain. These critics argue that his legacy should be viewed through the lens of these serious accusations. Yet, like any influential figure, TB Joshua's legacy is not black and white. It's a complex tapestry woven from the threads of faith, controversy, devotion, and dissent. His life and his work will continue to be scrutinized, studied, and debated as people seek to understand the man behind the enigma. TB Joshua, a miracle maker to some, a false prophet to others. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. His legacy, like the man himself, will continue to be a subject of contention and fascination, a testament to the indelible mark he left on the world and the enduring power of faith.